I'm Amanda Joyce.
And I'm Devin Hayes. And today we have a special shop talk episode for you on how to avoid a $100,000 mistake with our guest, Brandy Tilley of Dolan Roofing and Construction. They're a multi-million-dollar roofing company out of San Antonio, Texas, with a second location in Tucson, Arizona. Welcome to Trade Secrets, where we demystify digital marketing to help contractors get the most bang for their marketing bucks.
This is for you if you're a contractor looking for actionable marketing insights.
Learn from home services industry experts to elevate your business through simplified marketing strategies.
Let's dive into today's trade secret.
Hi, Brandy.
Hi, good morning.
We are so glad to have you here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. So you are a roofing contractor out of San Antonio, Texas.
Yep.
And how long have you guys been in business?
We've been in business here in the San Antonio market for about 7 years.
And then you guys also have a physical location in Tucson as well, right?
We do, yeah. And we've had that location about 3 years.
Oh my gosh. So tons of experience. Which is exactly why we have you on the show today. We have a segment kind of our podcast called Shop Talk, where we actually talk to business owners about some lessons learned and some things they wish they could impart to other, business owners and some tough lessons learned along the way. So thank you for being willing to talk about this, because some people try to act like, everything's all good and perfect all the time, and they've never had a hard lesson learned.
I think it's important to know as a business owner, you have to take risk, and sometimes those things are not going to go the way you plan them to.
Absolutely.
True.
And before we dive in kind of on the story of your marketing journey, prior to bringing any agency in-house, this was a hat you were really wearing, weren't you, Brandy?
As much as I could without very much experience.
Which is, I think, so common in this space. It's as companies grow, they start out kind of managing it in-house, and then there's the question of what comes next when it's finally time when either you're too busy or you've finally got the budget to actually invest in marketing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we have kind of a juicy clickbait sort of headline for this podcast today. We're calling it the Shop Talk: Avoiding a $100,000 Mistake. So brutal. It sounds brutal. So with that, let's jump into it. So this $100,000 mistake was over a 12-month period, and it was when Brandy chose to go with this big national marketing agency. Will you just tell us a little bit about how you found them and how why you decided to go with them and kind of your thought process behind it?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's true. It's not clickbaity if it's true.
That's true.
We did make a pretty big marketing mistake. I was looking for a larger company to take on our marketing, because I thought that meant that we could trust the work that we were going to get and be ensured that the promises that were being told to us actually were delivered upon. This company did marketing for other large national franchises, and we knew a couple of franchisees who had used them in the past and said, yeah, it worked well for us. But unfortunately, it wasn't in our vertical or in our type of work. So they had experience with other types of marketing, but not necessarily with contractors. And I think that's really where things fell apart.
Kind of fell off the wheels.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. So
let's talk about that a little bit. Yeah, about when the wheels fell off. Kind of what from the beginning, your experience, but when you started to kind of recognize that maybe it wasn't the best fit for your needs.
I think that the lack of transparency and the lack of communication throughout the process was the biggest frustration. I was being shown things that made it look like we were making great progress. And don't get me wrong, the phones rang. It wasn't that the phones weren't ringing. It was just that there was nothing being done that was going to deliver long-term results for us from a marketing perspective. And I wasn't getting the types of reports and the types of transparency from them that I wanted to be able to see. And really this working partnership where we're all working towards a common goal, rather than just spend, and let's hope the wheels don't fall off.
Yeah, so that's interesting. So the phone was ringing, which is good, and you want to get business, but obviously everybody does. But the phones were ringing, but there was no way to track like why they were ringing. Was it your investment just all going towards paid media, or were they actually doing anything for the organic traffic? Because it sounds like they maybe sold you on, I mean, what did they sell you on? Did they say it was going to be all paid media, or what kind of was their big sell, I guess?
Yeah, our contract was supposed to be more comprehensive. Honestly, I put out what I thought was a healthy paid media budget. When we signed the contract, I went ahead and agreed to it, but there was also supposed to be organic things, and things on social being worked on. And that's really where I feel like the PPC or display ads, things like that, all of that spending was helping the phones to ring, but it wasn't giving us anything long lasting that was helping us build our site online, build trust with Google, build trust with customers, things like that. The quality of the leads were not great because of the types of PPC and the types of ads that were running and getting the phones to ring. Yeah, they got the phones to ring, but it wasn't bringing in a whole lot of the type of client that we were looking for. And again, building this long-term footprint for us as a company and helping with branding.
Yeah. And so talk to us a little bit about the investment that you put in, from the like initial to like what you were looking at monthly for this kind of type of service and the kind of quality leads you were getting.
So I think one of the biggest mistakes that I made was that I was convinced to build a website that was hosted and held on a proprietary platform with the marketing company, that if we left that company, the website would not transfer, it would not be usable. We were pitched that it would give us much better insight. They had this really incredible technology, and those were the reasons for having the website held under their platform, that it was just going to give us this amazing visibility and ability, because they had these relationships with Google and etc. to I don't know that it was necessarily pitched as gaming the system or cheating the system, but just that it was going to help us get further ahead faster. So that's definitely a big mistake. If I could warn any contractor, is that you want to own your website. Otherwise, when you need to make a change, you're going to have to pay for that website to be done all over again. So our initial investment was a couple $1,000s to build out the website, which isn't terrible at all. But it was really, when we got into the monthly, we were spending about $10,000 a month with this company between ad spend and management. And really, though, a majority of that was management of the ad spend and wasn't going to building the brand, SEO, any of those types of things that are so important, that is a great place to make an investment.
And when you were saying that they had kind of sold you on using their proprietary platform and that you wouldn't own the website, did you feel clear on that you wouldn't own it? Or was it just more of a discussion about like, we're going to host it over here? Were you even clear as a business owner that it would, if you walked away one day, that you would, in fact, wouldn't have the website?
I was clear on it, and it was one of the big red flags and one of the big problems that we had multiple conversations about throughout the sales process, but their sales process was great. So
I know, listening to you, I'm like, that sounds amazing. Like these insights and kind of like buddy with Google, and you get like better metrics than maybe you do on a WordPress site. Like, well, I'm sold on it too. And I know better. So yeah, that's,
I had come from a DIY website, right? So I had gone on Weebly and done our own website for the first year just to get something out on the internet in case somebody looked us up, because we were running hard and fast and selling and building as many projects as we could, that it was a secondary deal. And I invested a little bit of money after that to have someone build a website for us that I knew wasn't converting. So my main goal with hiring a large marketing agency was, I know something's wrong. I know our website isn't converting. I know that we're not getting the kind of leads online that we should be getting. So now let's go invest more money and find a larger company that can help fix these problems.
Yeah, and when you do that, when you're investing like that much money, and what's tough here is that you are a really educated business owner. There's a lot of business owners that don't even have kind of a grasp of like the bigger concept that you do with marketing, with, you know, getting a footprint like digitally and what it does for your branding and attracting those buyers online. Like, you have a great understanding of that. So that's what's so brutal, is that you knew that, and you knew that good marketing wouldn't be cheap. And so it sounds like when you hear that price tag and there's sticker shock, it just sounds like it's a national agency. They must be highly experienced, and that you should be getting like a big bang for your buck with that sticker. And it's so brutal for us to hear as marketers, because we're like, wow, here you are, this client who is totally invested, understands the value of marketing, and yet you kind I what's that expression with the wool pulled over your eyes or something like that? I always mix up my idioms there, but it's just brutal for us to hear, because it is a common story, and it's just gut wrenching to know that almost every penny of that 10K was going to ads that were, Amanda, when we dug in and looked at this account, speak to the paid side. I'll speak to the organic side in a minute, but the average business owner would hear, I'm spending $10,000 a month in paid media. Like this should be customer gold. Like, I should be getting a ton of business. Yes. And I think explaining why that's not the case, how you can't just throw money at a problem. Like, let's just dive into that a little bit, because I think this is really interesting.
Absolutely. So, kind of to your point, for a lot of business owners, they're going to see that they're getting a report every month that says they're spending money, they're getting traffic to their website. Hey, hooray, this looks good, moving on. When we really dug in and looked at it, so much of that traffic that Brandy was getting was display, which for those of you that aren't familiar with what that means, that's when you see image ads throughout the web. So they can be targeted. So it can be based upon maybe some of your recent history around online, your search history, all that. But at the end of the day, you could be shoe shopping or you're wherever, and then you're just getting this ad served to you that's kind of chasing you around the web. So it's not an actively engaged user. So a vast majority of that budget that was being spent on Brandy's behalf every month was just going out into the Google Display Network. But then that really was inflating those numbers. So if you looked inside of any of their website traffic data, if you were just clumping it all together and not separating out paid versus organic to Brandy, it would look like, oh my gosh, I mean, they turned on the spigot and my phone is ringing and I'm getting traffic. Like, we made a wise decision. And then it takes a while till, as you start to kind of have the time to analyze the quality of those leads, start to realize that something's missing here. There's a cog missing. And, so that was just really hard for us to see as a small boutique agency to go in and, when we even hear about the big national agencies, we kind of expect to look under the hood and maybe learn a couple tricks like, oh, wow, this is what they're up to that we didn't even realize. And I was pretty disappointed when I saw what they've been doing on your behalf. So, it's a quick, easy win, but that could have been an easy win for the first few weeks while they were getting dug in on and learning about your market, but it didn't seem like that strategy ever pivoted. So.
Yeah, so just to kind of summarize, so Brandy, the reporting, it was just this big kind of blanket report where they covered every acquisition channel in one report. So you were just seeing these upward ticks and upward trends across the board. And did they kind of overwhelm you with the amount of reporting, or was it only given when you requested it?
I had a login that I could go log in and look at these things. However, I am incredibly busy all the time. So I'm not getting in weekly or even bi-weekly to review this kind of stuff. So when I was able to coordinate a call with my rep, we would go over some of these types of things. A lot of times I would have to request updates or reports or deeper detail into what was going on exactly and where things were coming from, because it was definitely a fluffy report to make things look great. And going into it, I think something important to know and to understand, and you guys will probably appreciate this, is that this stuff takes time, right? Like, it doesn't happen overnight. And with my experience with what I had learned about digital marketing leading up to this was that I had to give it time. So as these months ticked by, we're just agreeing that we're giving some time for things to start generating and changing, especially in the SEO realm, the organic traffic space, is that it doesn't happen overnight. So I was probably more lenient than I should have been, but I also knew I was in a 12-month contract. So breaking that contract was going to be very expensive for me. I was probably going to be paying them their service fees regardless of what happened. And I think it was probably about 8 or 9 months into the contract when I said, okay, like, this is not going to work, and started searching for a better solution.
Brutal. You said you'd request a call with your rep. Were you always working with the same person, or was it kind of just a revolving door?
I had the same person, but really that rep was, customer retention. And I'm not sure how much of the details of digital marketing that rep understood, because there would be a lot of times where I would ask questions and would have to wait several days. Let me get with the team. Let me get these answers for you before I got back what I needed to know and what I was looking for, especially when I asked very specific questions about things like acquisition and click-throughs and conversions and, where types of things were coming from.
Yeah, and in those kind of situations, like, if you're going to have a true marketing partnership, you need to be able to talk to the people that are actually turning those cogs, or that game of telephone, you'll never really get to have those breakthroughs and learnings together if you've got that kind of gatekeeper.
And I think it's super important as a business owner to understand, at least at a high level, some of what's happening here so that you can make educated decisions and not just knee-jerk or emotional decisions. So I've tried to, and we have conversations now since we've engaged with you guys about things that I learn, and I'll come to you, and just say, okay, I've learned these XYZ things about digital marketing. What's the real deal with it? What are your thoughts on it? Are we working on it? Are we not working on it? Funny enough, most of the time you guys are already working on it. So
Yes. Yeah. And we love that back and forth because digital marketing changes every single day. And, there's so many wonderful conferences. I know specifically in like the roofing niche, there are a ton of conferences and there's a ton of coaches and there is a lot of education continuously like put out there, which is a great thing. So we always love it. Like, even there's a ton of, even SEO companies that will point something out in like a lead submission form on your website. And we look at all that. We're like, are we missing anything? Oh, they don't know X, Y, and Z. Nope, that's wrong or whatever, because all of our tools kind of work the same, but they don't pick up on certain nuances that we know when we work in the back end of a website. So we love it. We're like, send it to us. Are we missing something? We'd gladly fix it, So it's great to have that back and forth dialogue. So with this, so you said about 9 months in, you're like, yeah, something is not right. Can you talk to us a bit about like if there was a final straw when you wanted, like when you knew that you were going to move on from this, and whatever that final straw was, I guess the follow-up question to that would be, how did you start looking for a new agency? So two heavily loaded questions for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know that I don't know that I can recall a specific final straw other than just knowing that I was frustrated at continually requesting information that was taking too long to get, or having to say, hey, it's been 5 days. Do you have this information? So that's really what triggered me to start looking into a new agency. And I did have a little bit of a trust issue at this point with... Okay, we've tried a big national agency that I thought would solve some of the trust problem. There are a ton of marketers that target roofing specific companies because we have high revenue, good margins. Typically, they know that roofing in particular and contracting businesses have money to spend. And for a majority of those companies, they're not spending it well on marketing for sure. It's rampant in the industry because most owners are contractors, right? Like they swing a hammer really well, but don't know things like digital marketing. My husband, Johnny, despises a computer. So he operates on his iPhone and an iPad, because he knows how to use those things. And that wouldn't be his realm. So if I wasn't here helping him with this business, I don't think, he'd be another one of those contractors that just didn't dig into this digital marketing because he's got business coming in and, he'll go find a way to generate it otherwise. Whereas I know that most consumers are going to the web to shop for something first and foremost. That's how I find anybody that I need, right, to use at my own house that we don't know someone who does it. So that's why I knew that it was so important that we get a grasp on the digital marketing and on our placement online. Because I knew that there was a ton of these companies that were out there marketing to roofers and I didn't know who I could trust, my thought process was, okay, I'm going to think of some very difficult markets in the country that there are thousands of contractors that you hear about all the time that are just these hot markets. And I'm going to Google roofing contractors in those markets and see who pops up and see if I can figure out who is doing their digital marketing. And that's how I started trying to find out what agencies were having success in other markets. I knew most agencies wouldn't work with multiple roofers in the same market, which is why I didn't care who's ranking in my market. I want to see who's ranking in other really difficult to rank markets and figure out who can I have some calls with to talk about what they're doing for these other contractors and how it could help our business.
I just think that's brilliant.
Brilliant. Yeah, exactly. Brilliant. And it's talk about, there's so many things you hire people for with your business that you kind of have to just go by someone's, referral, but talk about SEO. There's no hiding it. You can tell who's it's working for and whose it isn't. So it's a really great tip, no matter what your vertical is. If you want to find a company that can help you rank, go out and look up their chops, figure out who's having success in difficult markets.
Yeah, kind of back into it. And especially if you're looking at the organic results strictly, because looking at paid, it's really easy to run a paid campaign. But yeah, for someone to be ranking organically in these competitive markets it does show that their money is where their mouth is. Even if they're a tiny agency who's never marketed themselves before.
Well, and competing with the likes of the Angie's List and the Thumbtack, because in a majority of markets, they're spending so much time and so much money that, position one is probably Angie's List. And then maybe there's an actual local contractor. And so It's extremely competitive. You're talking about these huge multi-million-dollar companies that you're competing to rank against, not just the actual local guys in your market.
Yeah, those aggregate sites are brutal. Yeah.
Let's talk about your experience with us now.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, let's talk about, so we talked about the horror story. We talked about how you found us. Let's talk about what you do feel is really working with our partnership and,
I think the biggest thing is that we meet bi-monthly, and that is just on my calendar. Bi-weekly, yes.
Yeah.
That is set on my calendar. We have a Zoom call and we dig into the nitty-gritty. we have conversations about content that we want to be putting out there, not just what's going to rank, but what's going to work for my business right now. You could go get us to rank all day long for gutter repair.
Gutters, yeah.
Right?
we didn't even talk about that yet.
I don't need $150 gutter repairs all day long. I need roofing leads, right? So, but that's the important part of a partnership, to where we can have these conversations. Hey, my business is pivoting away from XYZ type of thing right now. We really don't want to focus on those types of leads. Here's what is going to help our business, rather than you guys just being like, here's what we can look like rock stars doing. And so this is what we're going to focus on right now. And I think that collaborative effort is extremely important, and not anything that I've ever had working with another agency in the past of, hey, what can we do that's actually going to help further your business? It's hugely important.
Yeah. And from an agency perspective, you're the ideal client because of that. I mean, we can't say it enough that it's not a set it and forget it. And we have to have those eyes and ears in your business to do a good job with the content we're creating, to know what ads to be running, to know how to put you guys out there into your local market. So you get a gold star for the homework you're doing on your end, and then you're helping make us look like rock stars in the process. So we all win.
Yeah, and it really has been a true partnership, because when we first started with you, after 12 months with this national agency, you guys were ranking for gutter and deck keywords only. And San Antonio is an extremely difficult market. However, there were no roofing terms that your entire website was ranking for. And so, like with this, kind of our strategy, we refined even like your URL and things like that helped you get found for more roofing related terms. But I mean, that wasn't something we could just like say, we think this and do it. Like we had to, really like talk with you and kind of explain like our line of thinking and just show the value in getting that keyword phrase in the URL for your primary service. And just, it really is just a partnership, not just, like, oh, oh gosh, stay away from those $250 a month SEO companies. But makes me like have a reaction here. But there's just so much more. And even like when we see reviews pop up, and if it's good or bad, we're like, all right, having the relationship to say what's going on with this one. What is this review about? When it's a 1-star, right? Because the 5 stars are great and we can reply to those all day. But when it's 1 star, it's kind of nuanced, and customers who are researching you, they want to see, well, how does a company handle this? When something goes wrong, because it's construction and inevitably stuff does, how does a company handle it? And if you have just some set it and forget it kind of agency, they're not really looking at that. They don't care. They're not helping you build your brand online. They're just kind of slapping things up there and checking things off a list, instead of having like a whole picture kind of strategic plan for positioning the brand and like showing customers how you care, not just throwing some crappy ads up on Google Ads. I almost knocked my whole water bottle off there. But yeah, and like Amanda said, just showing some shiny, like, look at how well we're doing, when it's all paid, and but it's like low quality, so just that relationship of knowing like we truly care about your business, and we truly care about how you're performing and how you're doing. And when we're and SEO, let's face it, like we think we know, and then Google will change something, or we something will make another contractor explode in one market, but for some reason it doesn't work in another market, and we're scratching our heads. But at least meeting bi-weekly, we're talking through, well, this is what we're working on, we're pivoting here, we're changing this, we're trying that, this is what we're doing, instead of like hiding behind or just showing you some glorified metrics. We actually show you the ugly stuff, and we're like, yeah, this is ugly, we know it, and here's what we're working to do to improve it. We're not just like sitting on it, and hoping the client doesn't notice. I think that's what's like really important with any marketing partnership, right? Like if you're getting all good news all the time, I mean, I'd be a little
probably questioning it a little bit. Yeah. And to your point earlier too, Devin, about looking at leads together, I've worked in this industry for long enough, as we both have, that you'll see a lot of times companies want to just report on like lead counts, like look at your conversion rate, yay, move on, don't ask me any questions, let's move on. But if you actually go in and actually look at some of those leads, it's really critical to have that conversation with whoever your marketing partner is. Let's look at where the quality leads are coming from. And I don't care if you're getting me a 10% conversion rate, if I can't close any of them, let's talk about the few leads that were good and how we're going to drive more of those. So again, it just goes back to the open communication and the partnership.
And I think there's a couple of really important points that both of you just made. I think in regards to Devin, your comment about the $250 a month SEO companies that are out there, it's certainly not. There's an amount of money that you have to spend, and maybe you guys can speak to what a healthy budget is, and maybe that's for another podcast. But there's certainly this point where you're going to get a return on your spend and where you're not, and you might as well just be lighting that money on fire. And so while I think it's really attractive to hear $250 a month SEO, I think you're probably just lighting that $250 every month on fire. And it's not going to get a whole lot done for you. And then as far as the partnership goes, I mean, there have been times where you guys have helped us to see through listening to lead calls, because you truly are digging into those leads and bringing things to my attention, because maybe I haven't listened to the lead calls in a few weeks and you're telling me, hey, we want to talk to XYZ employee about how they're handling this thing because it's probably affecting your conversions. And I think that's a super important part of our partnership, that you're able to flag things for me that I may not have seen yet. And sometimes I tell you, yeah, we're working on that.
Yeah.
But other times you've brought it to my attention when it needed to be brought to my attention.
Yay, that's what we're here for.
Yes, I know it. Like a true partnership. That's why we love it. We have, and we just have warm, fuzzy feelings. We love you. We do love our clients. We love what we do. And, we love being like a niche agency because we get to have these like true partnerships where we like have the time to invest in our clients and we don't take on more than we can chew. We're not trying to be the largest agency by any stretch of the imagination. People we take on, it's people like you. We love you. We love to help. We love to, really help build businesses and have that transparency and like a true partnership. So with this, I would like to ask you, Brandy, I don't know if it's 3 takeaways or 1 takeaway, but I'm going to ask you, if you were to give, if we were to succinctly try to say, what is a key takeaway in this like really powerful lesson learned, like what I'm trying to think of like how we could like say it in an easy way, because we're gonna clip it out and we're gonna put it on social media for everybody to hear your brilliance.
Yeah. I think that the key takeaway, and something that I worked really hard on leading through that and up until now, was that as a business owner, you cannot be afraid to take risk. You're going to make mistakes. Sometimes those are going to be very expensive mistakes, but it's better to take action and learn from it. And here I learned a ton through that very expensive mistake and created a better partnership for our business through it. And I think that a lot of times business owners are afraid to make costly mistakes, so we won't do it, right? And I think the other important component of that is that you've got to educate yourself so that when you are making decisions, you at least have a higher level understanding that the person that you're talking to is not blowing a whole lot of smoke, that they actually know what they're talking about.
Yes. Okay. So I would say, some takeaways. This is what I'm getting. Number 1, like, don't be afraid to take risks and learn from them. Number 2, hiring an agency, it should be a partnership and it should be somebody that you trust, because you can't see a lot of the work that an agency does. Right.
Absolutely. However, I will say working with you guys, the transparency has been huge. And so if an agency isn't transparent, not being transparent, or says they can't be transparent, that's probably not accurate if they're saying that they can't provide you more information. There are tools upon tools upon tools to give
Podcast gold.
Information is there. It's there in many different ways. Yeah.
It's there. It's just not being provided to you. And if it's not being provided to you as a business owner, that's a red flag.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this has been so good. I could talk to you all day and pick your brain on so many things. You're so knowledgeable in so many areas of the business, but like, it's just, this has been great for us. And I really hope that anyone listening really gets the value out of it, because I mean, you've said a lot of really, really good things here. And, the importance of having that like 30,000 foot view and kind of understanding of digital marketing is huge for any business owner. And I think, you definitely, embody that. And we just love that you have been so willing to share a really expensive lesson learned. And I think this will make a difference for some contractors out there for sure.
I'm happy to be transparent about it, because if I can save another contractor 6 figures, that would be awesome. And I wouldn't have been upset about spending the money if we had something to show for it at the end of the day, or if the conversions were there to show that the PPC or display got us enough business to pay for it, but I just couldn't find it.
Yeah. But you fought the good fight and you found us, so.
Absolutely. Lesson learned.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Brandy. And we know we'll look forward to catching up with you at our next call.
Great. Awesome. Thank you, ladies.
Thanks, Brandy.
That was today's trade secret. Thanks for listening.
Did you find this helpful? We're just getting started.
Subscribe and don't miss our next reveal.
Until next time.